Well, it wasn't quite as good as Marty Scurll versus Pete Dunne this past Sunday. We'll get to that in a second. It is always good to see Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong, and I mean, swapping roles doesn't hurt too much either. Let's talk about NXT. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Chick, here with your May 2nd NXT review. A show full of short matches is what I'm going to say tonight, but we're going to get rid of the house cleaning first. As you guys know, I was at Destiny Icons this past Sunday. Big, long weekend of entertainment for me. Got to see the greatest Royal Rumble, which, I mean, everybody has an opinion on at this point. Tightest World Slide, etc. Got to see Infinity War, hoping to do a review of Infinity War in the coming weeks with Kristen, possibly Guapo as well. And I got to see Destiny Wrestling's Icons show. Headlined, of course, by the Destiny World Champion, Pete Dunne, taking on Marty Scurll, as well as Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven taking on Destiny's own Josh Alexander, as well as Sami Callihan. Now, I had seen Sami Callihan just a little bit in that little stint that he had in NXT. Not very much. He's a violent little motherfucker, isn't he? With the bat and what he did to Eddie Edwards and the whole bit. Now, part of the Destiny show was they were presenting a Lifetime Achievement Award to Don Callis, who some of you may know as Cyrus, some of you may know as the Jackal, depending on what programs you watch. Now, that was interrupted by Sami Callihan, who beat the fuck out of Don Callis, which was great, and then came back later to have his tag team match, which was also great. First time seeing him in person, obviously, first time ever laying a hand on Marty Scurll, or sorry, laying my eyes on Marty Scurll, I should say. Great, holy Christ, great match between Pete Dunne, Marty Scurll. No result in that. The two of them double low-blowed the referee, so they're going to have a rematch at a later date. But it's not going to be for the title. It's going to be Pete Dunne, who was then saved by Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, versus Marty Scurll and two friends that he's going to be bringing with him. Early speculation is that this is going to be the Young Bucks. Now, those of you who know my opinion of the wannabe NWO, aka the Bullet Club, know my opinion of the Young Bucks. I remember the Young Bucks from watching them in TNA. They're not a bad team. The godlike status that some wrestling fans give them is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm very, very, very seriously considering bringing a Fuck the Bucks sign to the next Destiny show, but it should be fun. Show was great overall. Deonna Purrazzo is another person that you really want to see in person, because she's fucking great as well. If you want to see highlights from this, I don't have very many videos other than Pete Dunne's entrance, but I do have an extensive collection of photos from this event. If you want to go back one video, there is a slideshow. You can catch most of it. There's a lot, as I say, a lot of it's repetitive. You guys know I am not a photographer by trade. It's just me being able to share a little bit of my live event experience with you guys in the best way I know how. It doesn't do me very much good to review a show because most of it is just the Destiny guys, who most of you won't know. I will say, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, Stone Rockwell versus Big Money was a fun match. For those of you that don't know, Stone Rockwell is a comedy gimmick. It's a Santino Marella-esque gimmick, which makes sense because it's Santino Marella's Fed. It's sort of a knockoff Indiana Jones type guy, and it sounds silly until you see it. He took on Big Money, who none of you are going to know unless you watched Raw this week and saw the jobbers that took on the Authors of Pain. Now, one of them was clean-shaven, one of them had a beard. The one with the beard, that's Big Money. I don't know what they called him on Raw. They gave him some French name because they were in Montreal. But it's all good. Anybody in the Greater Toronto area, specifically Mississauga, Brampton, if you haven't been out to a Destiny show, I'm not going to say it's going to change your life. They do put on a really fucking good show. It's the very first wrestling show I've been front row for as well, so that was good as well. I doubt that anybody from Destiny is watching this video, but if you are, by chance, you put on a really fucking good show. No 205 Live review last night. as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I'm a slave to Rogers Cable. As you guys know, up here in Canada, we don't have the WWE Network as an app. We don't get it on our devices, our computers, etc. It is actually a physical channel over on my TV, so when the cable decides to go for a shit, I lose SmackDown, which I caught up on little bits and pieces of today. Not that I really missed much, and I unfortunately missed out on 205 Live, so there is no review, which is unfortunate. But if you are here for the first time, please check out the playlists up in the annotation up above. Check out my previous NXT reviews, previous 205 Live reviews. The Aftermath series is a lot of fun, off the cuff. Myself, Kristen, and Guapo, I'm discussing a couple different topics with them for off the cuff. We're going to get Backlash and stuff like that out of the way, and then we are going to get back onto doing off the cuff. The first few off the cuff videos were myself. I'm going to keep the topical videos to more of a conversation basis, so if you do see more off the cuff videos, more often than not, more likely than not, it is going to be myself and or Kristen and or Guapo. So please tune in for those if you want. If you want to join the Q&A, go back a couple videos, find my last Q&A, put your questions down in the box below. It'll be included in the next Q&A. The next Q&A I'm planning right now is going to be sometime before Money in the Bank, hashtag NXT Takeover Chicago, sometime in that sort of week, the way I did it leading up to WrestleMania, etc. The pay-per-view pick'em for Backlash is going to happen, barring any inconsistencies. Tomorrow night, I don't know whether it's going to be Kristen or Guapo or both of them joining me for the Backlash pay-per-view pick'em. Stay tuned tomorrow night. If you want to play along, play along. There's no prizes. You just get to play along for the fuck of it. Let's talk about NXT, because I've been rambling for 6 minutes already and I haven't even talked about the show. Open up the show with a backstage promo from the Undisputed Era. Cole says that he's a giver ever since he became the NXT North American Champion. He's become even more of a giver. He gave Oney Lorcan a chance to be famous last week. Danny Burch got what he deserved for getting involved. They talk about Strong versus Dunne tonight, and he says that they are untouchable, unstoppable, and undisputed. Short, sweet, to the point. Adam Cole, I mean, people know him from other feds. I don't know what he was like in other feds, but even within the great realms, the untouchable realms of NXT, I think Adam Cole is probably one of the better mic workers they have there. Kairi Sane took on somebody called Shazza McKenzie, another Aussie. Seem to like most of the Aussie chicks. When we get to later portion of the show, you'll see that doesn't exactly pass on to the male performers or the tag teams, but that, you know, it is what it is. They start off with a respectful handshake, an early roll-up by Sane, forearm smash by Shazzy, which is about all she gets in. There's a two-handed chop by Sane, a baseball slide elbow to the chest, phenomenal forearm, which they had some other name for that I didn't hear, Tokyo Slam, which was an Alabama Slam, and an insane elbow gets the win for Sane. She then gets accosted after the match by Lacey Evans, who's come out to give a bullshit apology that means nothing. The crowd tells her don't trust her. She gets a one-punch knockout, and one single dude in the crowd, must have been somewhere near the camera because it came through clear as day, "Hey Lacey, no one likes you." Pretty fucking good. They replay Ciampa jumping Gargano last week, costing him his shot at Aleister Black in the NXT Championship, which gave us Aleister Black versus Eric Young, which makes sense because Eric Young's going to SmackDown with the rest of Sanity. But we talked to Candice LeRAE in the back. She talks about how it's been a tough year. They were finally here together as husband and wife. They were betrayed by somebody that they were betrayed by somebody that they saw as family. After last week, I'm really shocked. I thought we were done with all this, and I can't talk anymore because I got to prepare for a match later on. She's bawling in her interview, and then she caps it off with, "I'm sorry, I got a match to get ready for." So that was... It was a very abrupt end to the segment, but it is what it is. Street Profits versus TM Nobody Gives a Fuck. Street Profits get some pretty decent offense in a double team with the feet on the ropes, with a handful of tights, gets the win for the Jobbers. So my fandom for wrestlers from Australia, from that part of the world, extends only to the female roster, apparently. They replay War Raiders' debut, smashing heavy machinery in the NXT that was filmed before TakeOver, in the New Orleans arena there. They announced that War Raiders versus Heavy Machinery is going to happen next week, which is going to be huge. They announced a couple of other matches that are going to happen next week that we're going to talk about later. And we move on. Kona Reeve, who we've been seeing these previews for. He's flashy, he's movie star-esque, etc. Taking on some random guy named Patrick Scott, who got a Let's Go Scott chance when he came to the ring. Kona Reeve's new gimmick is that he's The Rock. That's about all I can say. Collar and elbow tie-up and a corner rush by Reeves and a kitchen sink forearm snake eyes by Reeves and an arm bar by Scott. That's about all he gets in because there's a back elbow by Reeves, a mudhole stomp, a gut wrench suplex, and a Hawaiian drop, which is sort of an inverted snap Samoan drop for the win. Awesome, I guess. We get a video package from EC3 saying he's going to make his TV debut next week. You know, if you thought what you saw at TakeOver was great, we all know that the sequel is always better. NXT is about to become NX3, which is an overused cliche that I don't think I'm going to get sick of. As opposed to what we're going to have next, because what we're going to have next is Candice LeRae versus the STD of NXT, Bianca Belair. I mean, it is what it is. They changed her music. It's even more generic. It's even more annoying. She's still great in the ring. The nickname thing is bullshit. The hair whip thing is bullshit. We didn't get the hair whip tonight, so I should give her a little bit of credit for that, but I just don't feel like it. No, I don't. Front slam by Belair, side headlock and a shoulder tackle, tilt-a-whirl head scissor and an arm drag by LeRae. Back elbow by LeRae, snake eyes by Belair, torture rack by Belair, but LeRae powers out. Forearms and chops by LeRae and a missile dropkick. The missile dropkick that Candice LeRae does is pretty fucking sweet, I'm just going to say. Inverted powerbomb. If you remember that move that Big Show used for a little bit, I think he called it like the curtain call, is you lift them up for a powerbomb, except you drop them backwards rather than forward. That's what Belair did, whatever you want to call it, and she got the win, and the commentators do everything in their power to take all that gusto away from her because they hammer home the fact that LeRae basically would have won if she wasn't so upset. So Belair won. She's cool, she's athletic, she's impressive, she won, but it doesn't really matter because the focus is on LeRae. I don't know who this helped, to be honest. It was really short. All the matches, really, really short. The Kona Reeve thing was basically a squash. The TM Nobody Gives a Fuck versus Street Profits was relatively short and bullshit. This was pretty short, which is kind of shitty, because I like Candice LeRae, the little bit that I've seen of her. I like Bianca Belair, despite my issues with her gimmick, and I mean, I call her the STD of NXT. It's not like when I make fun of Naomi, who's just fucking terrible. Bianca Belair is a great wrestler who's stuck with several layers of shitty gimmick, and that's really, really unfortunate, and it takes me out of the moment of enjoying her in the ring. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, you'll tell me in the box below. Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong, I was about to say, and I was actually on Twitter, I was about to say, hey, look, Roderick Strong's the only guy from the Undisputed Era that still gets to come out to his own individual music. And then he fell to his knees, and it switched over to the Undisputed Era music, as if WWE was giving me one of these in the face directly. He comes out with the other healthy members of the Undisputed Era. He comes out. He's announced as one half of the Tag Team Champions. He's announced that one of the guys accompanying him to the ring is his Tag Team Championship partner, but they weren't carrying the belts. I mean, Roderick Strong wasn't. I can't really tell you if Kyle O'Reilly was or not, because I honestly don't recall. But it's a little odd that he wasn't wearing the belt. I mean, they want to... If you're pushing this faction, and if you're pushing this faction, basically, like, their colors are black and yellow. They're bragging about how they're draped in gold, but they don't come to the ring with the belts. There's a little bit... It doesn't take away from the faction. The faction's great, but it takes away from the visual aesthetic of the idea that they're trying to push. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm nitpicking it to fuck. Forearm and a corner beatdown by Dunne. Announcers put over really great that they're not surprised that he jumped him right from the bell because of the betrayal at the pay-per-view. Rah. Arm drag by Dunne. Boots to the arm, you know, early on, working on the arm. Backbreaker by Strong and some forearms in the corner. Dive off the apron by Dunne, but it's met by a drop kick in the gut by Strong, which is a nice spot. Apron, backbreaker by Strong, some chops. Kicks in the back by Strong and a low drop kick to the ribs. Inverted neck vice by Strong. We're working on the back. We're working on the neck. We are torturing the fuck out of Pete Dunne's spine, which, if you saw the ass kicking that he took on Sunday, would make you go, except this happened first because this is a taped show, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. That's just a run-on sentence. Seated abdominal stretch by Strong and some boots and some stumps. Backbreaker by Strong, but an X-Plex by Dunne. X-Plex is another move that I can only refer to as fucking pretty. Both men trade chops. Corner enziguri by Dunne. Dunne starts doing the shit that I love from the UK guys. Works the shoulder, works down to the elbow, works the arm, works the hand, and gets down to working those fucking fingers. The joint manipulation, all the stuff that just makes you cringe, whereas with it was a simple move like a body slam or an enziguri or something like that, which is impressive, but it's not the same for the audience as, okay, I've bent my finger backwards, I know what that feels like. I've got my finger caught in a door or whatever. I'm sure there's all kinds of weird, rude jokes about what else you can get your finger stuck in, but that's another story for another day. High knee by Strong, since he can't use his hands anymore. Suspension backbreaker. Now, when I say suspension backbreaker, I sort of have to break down this maneuver. He sets him up like Randy Orton does for the suspension DDT, or what they call on commentary the draping DDT, which sounds lame. Except he changes it up a little bit so that it looks like it's going to be an underhook suspension DDT, and then he flips him into the backbreaker, and it's just like, okay, every single part of your body got hurt right there. Top rope angle slam by Strong, which is nice. Forearm shots. Dunne goes back to the hand, goes back to the fingers once again, and splits the fingers. Overhead suplex. Now, I don't know whether this is a thing. I gotta go back to Destiny Icons for a second. They both did this to each other. Somebody that will remain nameless, that was with me at the show, a female, knows Pete Dunne, knows about Marty Scurll, and twice before the show said these words: I hope they do the finger thing. Because I'm a good person, I bit my lip really hard, and I didn't make all the jokes you can make out of that. But no, he does. He splits the fingers, and when they did the splitting the fingers, I don't know whether this is a thing for Marty Scurll. Super, super loud, you sick fuck chants. And I half expected that to happen in the NXT arena tonight, because the NXT arena is, you know, super smarky crowd, and they, you know, they know these things. I don't know these things. I've never seen, like I say, I've never seen Marty Scurll before in my life. I know Pete Dunne because he's in the WWE. I go to Destiny because their champion is Pete Dunne, who I know from the WWE. So please understand my entry point when I'm talking about matches like this. But he splits the fingers, hits him with an overhead suplex, hits the bitter end, which for the third time this review I'm going to say is a pretty fucking move. But there's no pin. Undisputed Era come in, 3-on-1 beatdown, saved by Birch and Lorcan. Gee, do you think somewhere along the way we're going to get a 3-on-3 six-man tag out of this? The heels take a powder, and that's pretty much the end of the show. Really, really simple. Really, really good match. Really, really good storytelling in the non-finish. It's all good. You can't really go wrong with this show. Like I say, other than this, a lot of short matches, a lot of matches that even if they weren't squashes, felt like squashes. But going into next week, I'm really looking forward to, and I hope my cable is cooperative, because I really want to review next week's show, because not only are we getting Heavy Machinery versus the War Raiders, we are getting Raul Mendoza versus the debuting EC3, and Tommaso Ciampa hopefully kicking the living shit out of Cassius Ohno, because it's Cassius Ohno, and nobody cares. Oh yes. Anyways, that's all I've had to ramble about tonight. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, tag it out. Bye, guys. Don't apologize.